I want to welcome you all. This is an extra kind of pleasure for me because about 50 years ago, Dr. Aller and I gave annual presentations on orgonomy for a period of about 5 years. And it's a pleasure to be in this room and see at least partly a new generation as my audience. Today you'll hear about some of the advances that Wilhelm Reich made to our civilization. Reich was a very special person. He had things in common with electromagnetic forces. He attracted and he repelled. And some of us who read Reich, as we were reading, we said, yeah, and yeah. And others who read Reich, or more often read articles about him, said, this guy's got to be stopped. That alone makes for an interesting lecture. The scientist Max Planck once said that it's difficult for people with new ideas to get into the flow of conventional science. That the orthodox scientists have a special brand of cultural lag, and that they tend to reject what's new. To some extent, he thought that was a good thing, because most of the new ideas didn't deserve a place in conventional science. So they should have been rejected. The other ideas, which eventually were accepted not because of their essential validity, but they were accepted because the old guard died off, and the younger scientists saw their value more clearly.
It's okay. Give a mic stand.
In our case, not only do the ideas themselves have to be examined, but all of the misinformation and enmity has to be dissolved before people can hear the argument clearly. Wilhelm Reich was born in 1987. He was a paranoid schizophrenic, a sex panderer, the head of a sexual cult, and he claimed to cure everything from the common cold to cancer. They were the rumors. When I was in therapy with Reich, I started out when he lived in Forest Hills. At that time, he had a professorship at the New School for Social Research, and he practiced on patients and he taught students. One of my friends, who was a respected member of the faculty at Jefferson Medical School, said to me, "What do other psychiatrists think of Reich?" And I said, "They think he's nuts." And he said, "No, I mean the respectable ones, the academic ones." So I said, "Joe, do you know any of the psychiatrists on staff at Jeff?" He said, "A couple of them." I said, "Ask them." So he asked the first of his acquaintances, who was a psychiatrist, and he said, "What do you think of Wilhelm Reich?" And the psychiatrist answered, "He's in a mental institution." And my friend said, "Are you sure?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "I don't know where, but I know he's in some institution." And he said, "Well, I know someone who goes for therapy to Reich in Forest Hills." And he was amazed because he knew that Reich was in a mental institution. And exactly the same thing happened with the second psychiatrist whom he questioned. Reich's father was a prosperous farmer. They lived in Galicia, which was then a part of Austria. Reich was educated by tutors, which is ideally the way to be educated, because the ideal tutor answers every question that the kid asks. And if he doesn't know the answer, he goes home and looks it up and comes back with the answer the next day. So that children who are tutored by at least the old-fashioned tutors had all of their questions answered, which kept alive their feeling of inquiry and satisfaction and the pleasure of being educated. Unlike parents who say, "Why? Because I said so, that's why." Or teachers who deprive them of the running around and the play that every kid needs, and who teach them what they want the kid to learn rather than what the kid wants to learn. So Reich was fortunate in that respect. In 1916, Reich was conscripted into the Austrian army, and he emerged a lieutenant. In 1919, when he was a senior in medical school, he became interested in psychoanalysis, was interviewed by Freud, and invited to join the Vienna Society for Psychoanalysis. In 1924 to 1930, he was the head of the Vienna Clinic for Vienna Seminar for Psychoanalytic Studies, which was the teaching arm of psychoanalysis in Vienna. And in that capacity, he taught many American psychiatrists who came over to learn about, to be treated and to learn about psychoanalysis. In 1928, he wrote his